Okay, looking at regression exercises for the slow muscle up on the low bar. When I do the dynamic version of the exercise, generally I reach up and I grab the bar with what I consider to be an overhand grip so that my thumbs are oriented forward at 9 o'clock. And then my wrists stay approximately in that position throughout the motion until I get up above the transition, and then my thumbs rotate down a little bit closer to 6 o'clock. So for the slow muscle up, this is without the false grip. And so that's the goal, is to be able to reach up, address the bar, step off whatever you're standing on, get into more or less a pike position, and go ahead and pull straight through that motion, up through the transition and into the dip, using only strength without any power aspect to it like you would have in the dynamic version, or without any momentum aspect to it. So the first exercise is just going over the bar. So I've got the low bar set up so that it's hitting at the upper part of my chest, and I can stand up on my tiptoes. I basically have the bar be right at the upper sternum area here, right below the pecs, which is sort of the minimum requirement for going over the bar. And obviously, as I rotate my grip forward with my thumbs moving from the 9 o'clock position more towards the 6 o'clock position, I'm reducing the lever arm on my forearm, but I'm also making it much easier to engage my triceps sooner in the process. And I think that's the thing that really makes it difficult for people to get through that transition. So basically, the idea behind this exercise is to just address the bar, rotate the grip to the thumbs down position, stand up on the tiptoes, and just see what needs to happen to go over the bar. You don't have to do the dip, but that's the idea. And what you're going to see, I think, is the more you rotate your grip forward without getting up into a false grip, but the more you rotate your grip forward and you reduce that lever arm and you make it easier to elevate your elbows, the easier it's going to be to start going over the bar and initiate that transition process. And then also, you'll see how much of a pike, your lower body will naturally seek that position, so that your center of gravity is in front of the bar, and that's going to make it easier for you to initiate that process to go over the bar. So just practicing that basic idea. Okay, second exercise takes the going over the bar exercise and adds the pulling aspect. And now we're going to go through the whole motion, but we're going to self-spot. So again, addressing the bar with whatever grip it is that you want to use. I'm using my grip with my thumbs at 6 o'clock here. And then go under the bar, maintaining the grip, and put your feet out in front. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull through up into the transition and do the motion. But when I come back, I'm going to keep one of my legs out forward, and my other leg, I'm going to do a little self-spot and give myself a little bit of help to complete the pull and get up through the initial part of the transition, to make that a little bit easier and to just get familiar with the kinesthetics of the motion my visual cues, whatever my tactile cues might be, just get a little bit closer to being able to do that motion, but without putting all of the load on. And you can build that. You can do reps on it, but I think what worked the best for me was to do singles on it. So get my head squared away, get on the bar, do a good strong single, then get off, take a rest for a few minutes, and get back together, get back on the bar, and go through that process as a series of singles, sub-maximal singles, so that I'm really familiarizing myself with challenging myself enough to make the motion difficult, but also keeping it doable and not doing something where I'm trying to do a lot of reps on it, so that I'm using more and more self-spot to the point where it's really digressing away from the motion that I'm trying to achieve. Okay, third exercise is similar to the second exercise, except now I'm going to leave both of my feet in front. So I'm going through the whole motion. I'm starting with both feet on the floor, and I'm going to keep both feet together, both legs together, and let them track through the whole movement. But I'm not going to actually pull up into a pike like I'd have to do on the high bar. And if I need to, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a launch in the beginning by pressing my feet down on the floor. But once they leave the floor the first time, that's it. So there's no self-spotting after that. And you can regress this by having not really a jump, but like just a little bit of a push there in the beginning, so you can get a little bit of momentum into it, and then just progress that out of it to the point where you're just pulling your feet off the floor like you would if you were in a pike position, or almost like you would if you were in a pike position. And then from there, it's just the next step is to just lift your feet off the floor and do it with a pike. And at that point, you might as well just move to the high bar. So anyway, get my same grip again and come down. Like so. And I would say, once you're pretty strong on that exercise, you're pretty close to being able to do it from a pike position on a high bar. You might need to practice an L-sit pull. But if you got the transition figured out pretty well, you're not going to need to pull super high to get over the bar. Okay, the fourth exercise is really just a bar dip, except that what I tried to do on this is get down as low as practical into the transition and really flirt with that transition and developing the strength that's required to get out of the hole when your forearms get down close to, or maybe hopefully even a little bit below parallel, and get your triceps engaged and consistently be able to press up out of the transition from as low a point as practically possible. So the grip doesn't make much difference here initially because it's going to reset itself when you jump up to the top position anyway. So then I'm also going to add a pike into this. And this is a good one to do reps on. So I started, basically I built up bar depth to the point that I could do like 50 reps in the more or less conventional manner. And then I started really focusing on form and getting down into that transitional hole as low as I could get. And focusing on maybe being able to do a set more like 10, and really get down into the hole. So you see how that lever arm works on your forearm. You see how the pike position works in terms of moving your center of gravity to in front of the bar. And the other thing is that you can really start to feel the flexural aspect of how you use your grip to pull yourself over the bar in the transition. And doing consecutive repetitions on this exercise is really conducive to building that understanding, because you can readjust your grip every time you press out to the top position. But I guess the goal for this is that in the slow muscle up on the high bar, and actually even in the dynamic version, you can develop enough confidence down in the transition where, you know, if you get any kind of a pull where you're like even remotely in the ballpark, you're going over that bar. And as soon as you start going over the bar, you're going up. So I guess it's kind of like doing a negative on the transition in the sense that you're dipping down in there as low as you can go. So I start off with something that's pretty conservative, and then just sort of start bumping it down as low as I can get. And that's the basic gist of that. So then, once you start, you know, you built all those components, it's time to take it up onto the high bar and step up on something and step down and get into that pike position and just go ahead and pull through it and go over the bar. And for comparison, a few reps on the dynamic version.